one of the best feelings to get the call back from the company, and they were telling me that you were one of the first people that we gave an offer to. He was convinced that college level material. He's like, I've
Mm.
never really seen any other college students that have done projects like this. This is all very impressive.
You're about to see a conversation with myself and Matt, who's one of my students inside of my Cloud Engineer Academy, who just secured his first ever cloud internship. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh, cloud internship, that's not the same as a job. Well, it is, because you have to go through the same application process, interview process to get hired. And in fact, I would say internships are way more competitive than normal jobs because there's so many students applying for the same ones, and there's a limited amount of these opportunities. Now, you're going to learn a few tips and tricks of how Matt was able to build out his profile to stand out from the hundreds of thousands of applicants that are applying at the same time for these roles, because let's face it, everyone at university wants an internship. And he's also going to talk about some of the projects that he built inside of the academy and put on his CV to stand out. Hopefully you're liking these videos. If you want more of these, let me know. I'm going to be interviewing so many of my students that have been getting hired to show you guys that it is possible to break into tech without any tech experience or previous tech experience. So literally anyone, and I mean anyone, can follow a blueprint and take action and get hired. So enjoy this one. It's a banger. So tell me, how did you feel when you got the offer for your internship?
It was honestly kind of mind blowing because the thing is, whenever I got into college freshman year, I started majoring in computer science, and I mean, it was just really, really difficult. And it was difficult to the point that my course curriculum wasn't teaching me. I finished my first year of college, and I kind of thought to myself, if I were to get an internship offer right now, I don't know anything. So I looked at it and I'm like, I'm not going to learn everything I need to from my college courses, right? So I actually switched my major from computer science to information systems, and that actually gave me a lot more free time to start um, working on skills that I actually needed, as opposed to just studying for a test and then forgetting all the information. So when I got the internship after switching out of computer science, where it seemed like I had less of a chance of getting an internship, it was honestly mind blowing. I felt fantastic. It was one of the best feelings to get the call back from the company, and they were telling me that you were one of the first people that we gave an offer to.
Wow.
Yeah, they felt really good about me after the interviews.
Yeah, yeah. Because I remember you messaging in the community chat, and you were saying that you had interviews, you were getting rejections, but you're feeling positive because you were getting the interviews. So
Yeah.
talk me through that. Like, what was that experience of rejections, but also you getting the interviews? How did you even, like position your profile? Because there's loads of other students, right, trying to get internships, so it's super competitive. What did you do that was kind of different?
I would say a big contributing factor to what I did, and I'm around a lot of people who are trying to get cloud internships, cyber internships, just tech internships in general, and they can't land them. I would say a big contributing factor for my ability to get callbacks, and not even considering the offer that I got, but just the ability to get callbacks from companies and get interviews. Um, I would say I would say that having a solid resume, which I got from the Cloud Engineering Academy, was honestly the biggest contributing factor, because that's the first thing people see, right? If you have a lot of different technical abilities, but you don't know how to structure it, it's not really going to help you that much, because the recruiter is just going to glance over it. You're not going to end up getting an interview. But the resume template that you provided us with in the Cloud Engineering Academy was a lifesaver when it came to actually landing interviews. And a lot of people, I've looked at my peers' resumes. They didn't look the same. They just weren't as good. So that
Yeah.
that was a big one.
Okay, yeah, because that's actually my own personal resume. So what I did was I used mine. I sent it to everyone. I was like, hey, like use this template, but obviously change
Yeah,
it to apply it to your own information. So it
right.
seems like it's worked really well then.
Yeah. I took the template, obviously edited my like the work experience to put my own, and put my skills in there, everything like that. I put the cloud projects that we did in the academy. I put some of those in there, and I mean, honestly, it just after I started doing that, started getting callbacks, even for positions that weren't exactly for cloud.
Mhm.
They still thought it was a very impressive resume. They thought it looked great, and I was getting callbacks for every kind of position. So that was a really big positive factor in getting callbacks.
Yeah, because what you were doing there, right? You were doing something different to all the other students. So they probably weren't enrolled in an academy or, like you said, didn't have the right structure in their resume, or they didn't have these projects as well. So that definitely helped you stand out. And then,
Right.
so yeah, you don't have to share like where you got your internship, but is it a big company, right?
Yeah, it's a Fortune 500, and it's in the top 200 companies. It's
Let's go.
a pretty big. It's a $100 billion biopharmaceutical company. So it's
Okay.
a pretty big company. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. And what was the interview experience like?
The interview experience. Well, first I sent in my resume. I got a call back from I guess from the kind of HR manager, and they were asking me some basic questions like, can you go over some of the technical skills that you have? Do you know Python? Do you know what experience you have with cloud? What exposure, your coursework, et cetera, et cetera. Just the basic questions to make sure that I'm actually qualified for the position. And after that was the second and final round, which was from the IT director of the company, which was it was a pretty good interview. That one got a little bit more technical. There wasn't any like coding challenges or anything like that, but one thing that he did comment on a lot, he was very impressed by the resume, which he made clear to me multiple times throughout the interview.
Yeah.
But he was very curious about my projects, and so when I hopped in that interview, he just said, "Let's get straight into it. You have what seems to be a lot of cloud knowledge on your resume. I'm curious, did your college teach you this?" Because he was convinced that that was college level material. He's like, "I've
Mhm.
never really seen any other college students that have done projects like this. This is all very impressive." And when I told him that it was essentially, I got a mentor, and a lot of it was self taught in that sense. He was very impressed. Which again, he made clear to me multiple times. He said, "We've never really had a candidate, even in past years of taking on interns. We don't have candidates that know this kind of stuff at your age, right?" And so he was really impressed with that. He asked me to walk him through one of the projects that I enjoyed the most, and I walked him through the Bastion Host cloud formation project that we did in the academy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one was great. Um, but yeah, that was kind of the interview. He asked me about some of my technical abilities. He asked me to walk me through specifics of the projects that I had on my resume, and yeah,
Cool. No, you're way ahead of everyone else, right? From all the other applications, just by,
definitely.
you know, thinking outside the box and having something that no one else has, which is projects, a clear resume, and being part of a community. Because, I remember you messaging about your interviews, and I think you just got some motivation to keep going, right? Just general to say, you know what, you're doing the right thing, you're on the right track, just keep pushing.
Definitely, yeah. Um, and I remember when I would get rejections, I know I came into the Cloud Engineering Academy, and I would talk about it, right? I said I have an interview for this company, hope I get it. Got rejected, but I was getting a lot of positive feedback. I remember even another large Fortune 500 reached out to me for an interview that I ended up getting rejected for, and I remember I was talking to you throughout that process, and you were helping me with the coding assessments. You were giving me good advice. So I mean, all of that really helped a ton.
Yeah, and what made you pick the cloud? Because like you're at university or college and you're doing computer science, and then you think, okay, people struggling with computer science, you decide to switch to information systems, right? And then what made you think, okay, I need to also learn some cloud? Like, where did that come from?
I've always been a do-it-yourself kind of person in the sense that if I'm curious about something, I'm not going to wait for the information to come to me. I'm going to go and find it, right? I'm going to go find out how to do it. So I felt like being being in college and completely relying on that to teach me everything I need to know to equip me for a career or for a job just wasn't sufficient. Obviously, college is good for having the checkbox that says you went, but I figured that okay, instead of waiting for the education to come to me, let me go learn what's out there, right?
Mm.
So I started researching what you could do with a information systems degree that's not just coding, right? I wanted to work in tech, but I didn't want it to be a software engineering position. I didn't want to limit myself to that. And I also felt like I needed to find something that has a better future in terms of career, because I feel like software development is oversaturated right now. So I started looking on YouTube, and I actually found your channel where you would talk a lot about cloud, and it became very interesting. The career prospects were fantastic because it's a growing market. It also seemed more interesting because it's not just sitting down and writing code blindly, right? It's there's a structure to it. You can be a cloud engineer, you can be a cloud architect, you can work in DevOps, DevSecOps, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that you can do with it. It's a growing market. So that's how I became interested in cloud. And I became interested in the academy whenever I started watching your videos. I'm like, Soleiman knows what he's talking about. He's definitely qualified. So I'm like, I'll get some mentorship from him. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions I made in terms of my career.
Yeah, your career is just getting started and you're already ahead of all your peers. So like now it's like what's next for you, right? You just double down even further because you're already thinking like no other students are thinking. So that comes from you, right? You taking that initiative, being in that environment, thinking differently. And that's why I always say, like, I don't know if you see on my LinkedIn, I keep writing about engineers need to be thinking differently. And I think you're definitely that kind of engineer. So yeah, the future looks really good, man, for you. Um, what what was your overall experience with the academy? Like from like joining, going through the modules, applying for roles, getting like the CV support, resume support, all that kind of stuff.
The experience was honestly great. I started the academy. I don't know the exact month, but I know that between the time that I started and the time that I got my internship, I had absolutely zero experience prior to starting. So I didn't really, granted that I had a year of computer science, I didn't really learn anything. So, I mean, I was going into it basically at ground zero, right? I just didn't know anything. And upon starting the academy, all of the information was very easily digestible. It was valuable, but it was taught in a way that I could digest it easily. It wasn't confusing. It wasn't overly complicated. It wasn't buzzwords. It all just made sense. It all just kind of clicked, right? And the advice that you would give us throughout the modules, such as like journaling the process, like understanding just to make sure that we understood what we knew and what we learned was all super helpful because it kind of reinforced the knowledge for me. And I mean, honestly, within 8 months, I think it was around 8 months, I just landed my first internship after just dialing in all of the knowledge that was in the academy, working on the projects, reaching out to you if I needed help, reaching out to the community if I needed help. So it was honestly a fantastic experience.
No, no, that's awesome, man. It's just good to see that the students that come on board and they go through the academy, they do the lessons, they listen to the advice, they engage with the community, and they ask for help, they always end up succeeding. Like I always say, this is the formula. Like you have to do all of these things to get the most out of the academy. And
Yeah,
you can tell from the ones that don't do that and the ones that do that. There's a clear differentiation between them because people like yourself are the ones that do the feedback. They do listen. They tick all those boxes that you have to do, and then you get the result. It sometimes I feel like I sound like a broken record because I keep repeating the same stuff for people to do, but it's like, please just do this, and you'll get the result that you're looking for.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. You'll say you sound like a broken record repeating it, but you repeat it because it's valuable information. So yeah, it's definitely good to just take action on the things that matter. I think that's just really the biggest step you can take, and I think the academy cultivates an environment in which you can do that.
Awesome. Now, how do you see, firstly, how do you see your internship going? And then also after that, like, where do you want to kind of progress now? Because like you've got that breakthrough, right? You've got that first step now into the industry, given you've just coming out of college or getting into your internship. This is probably the most difficult part because it's so competitive getting internships. I get so many messages on LinkedIn, on emails, on my YouTube videos, like, I can't get an internship. I'm at college. What should I do? So like what you've gone beyond that. So what's your plan now for the next few years?
My plan is to just learn as much as I can. Just I feel like that's the best thing you can do at any age, but especially I was 20 years old when I got the internship. It just whenever you're young, learn, learn, learn. I feel like a lot of people make the mistake of just focusing on like what's the highest paying career I could go? Should I go software development because it pays well? It's not about that. I feel like it's just finding what you're interested in, and for me that was cloud and just learning as much as you can, become the best at what you're doing, right? So
Mm,
when I'm in that internship, when I'm actually working in it during the summer, I think I go to North Carolina to work at the company in May. Whenever I'm there, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I have the best work uh, relative to all the other internships that are working with me, right?
mm.
It's just I think the best thing to do right now is to just be competitive and just gather knowledge as much as possible because I feel like that's gonna solidify me as a good candidate to progress in the future, right? A lot of people get this first step into the industry and then they calm down. They think the work is done. For me, I think the work is just getting started, right?
Mm.
The hardest work is ahead of me. I just need to keep learning and become better and better. But in terms of how I actually feel about the internship, I feel really confident because gaining knowledge is something that I can do in the academy. And I know if I have any questions, I can reach out to you. I can reach out to all the other cloud engineers in the academy. So I feel I feel motivated, I feel ambitious, and I feel confident that I have a support group to reach out to if I need help while I'm actually in the internship.
Yeah, yeah, because it's going to be interesting to see what they get you to do, what projects they'll get you to like start and get involved with. So for sure, like reach out in the academy, say, hey, I just started. Like this was my first week, right? It's going to be very, very insightful to see what they get you to do. And yeah, if you get stuck, there's loads of people there that can kind of guide you. So that's really cool. How like what was the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in this process? Because for me, from just this conversation, I know you're thinking outside of the box. You're doing things that other people aren't doing. I think your mindset is very positive, right? You tick some very good boxes, right, in terms of like people that want to work with you. So it doesn't surprise me that you got an internship, right? But what about yourself? Like, how have you developed over these last couple of months, and how what have you learned about yourself?
I would say that I've become incredibly more disciplined. I actually feel like working at the academy or working with the resources in the academy and staying disciplined with that stuff, I had to kind of hold myself accountable, right? To get what I wanted out of the academy. And that actually had impacts in other parts of my life. So I started being consistent with working out, being consistent with eating right, being consistent with studying. It impacted every other part of my life because I learned from going through the academy that if you want things in life, no matter how difficult they are, you can achieve them if you have discipline. The tools are there. You just need to have discipline to learn how to use the tools every day. So that's one thing I did learn about myself. I feel like that's the most important thing I learned about myself. And then also, kind of on the side, I just learned that whatever you want, no matter how difficult it is, you have people talking about it's impossible to work in cloud unless you have 5 years of system administration experience or something like that. People be naysayers. It's all noise. Just kind of lock in, focus, and you can do it. I was 20 years old when I landed that position. I didn't have 5 years of system administration experience. I just worked really hard, and I had good tools at my disposal. Used them, locked in, and I got what I wanted. So that's those are two good lessons that I learned. Just you can get what you want and discipline.
Yeah, the academy has been transformative for you, right? So you
Yeah,
joined the academy and suddenly you're eating right, you're going to the gym, like all this stuff.
yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. And did you get a certification? Did you do your AWS certifications or not?
I'm still working on it. I actually felt like it was kind of a personal thing, but I my experience with testing, right, has been university. And my experience with university has been that it's valuable in certain ways, but it hasn't really taught me that much in terms of usable skills. So I've been studying for my AWS certification, but I've been focusing more on actually developing projects, kind of like what we have in the academy, or I do I try to like tinker with AWS projects on my own because I feel like I would learn more from that as opposed to learning a curated curriculum that, you know, millions of people have taken, right? I mean, certifications are valuable, but how valuable is it if a million people have it and, you know, you're not actually building anything, you're just learning concepts. Again, there's nothing wrong with the cert. I'll probably end up getting it before my internship, but I've been more focusing on real usable knowledge that I can learn and then deploy it right there.
Yeah, and yeah, the reason I ask is because I always say you know, they have their place, but they're not the end all be all. So yeah, point being that you didn't get an AWS certification, but you landed a internship. So
Yep.
yeah, you don't need it, right? You just need
No.
the knowledge. They're going to ask you anyway AWS questions, right? Whether you're certified or not, they're going to ask you the questions, and then it's up to you. Can you answer it?
Yeah, and that's a big thing with I feel like the tech market and maybe cloud specifically because what I've had experience with. If you know, you don't need. I mean, I know people. I've talked to people who've worked in cloud without a degree. I've talked to people who've worked in cloud without certifications. As long as you have the merit and the knowledge to be able to deliver, that's all you need. That's what the job is about at the end of the day. So yeah, I would have to agree completely.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the fact that you've thought about building things on your own, it shows you're taking initiative because you're way more likely to finish something when you're building a project when it's a problem that you face yourself. So like you're thinking outside the box, okay, what project can I build with AWS to further enhance my knowledge, you know, to get some more practical experience. And it's way better doing that than going for a cert, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And what projects have you been building though?
It's mostly been things that are in the academy. I know I've been looking at some kind of newer ones that you've posted, and I mean it is challenging, but it's supposed to be challenging, right? That's where you learn whenever you're challenged and whenever things get difficult. So it's really just been things in the academy because they're super beneficial. I mean, on concept, they're just great, honestly. So I've been working on how to do those. And one thing I do like, just to make a note about it, is that the solutions aren't just like thrown at us and kind of spoon fed to us. We have to work to find out what to do, which again, when you're challenged, you learn. So it's basically just been things in the academy.
Okay, yeah, nice. Because that's how I structure it. So I structure it based on like a brief. It's like, hey, you're a cloud engineer consultant. You work for this startup. You know, they've got these problems. You know,
Yeah.
can you go and solve it? And that's, I think, the best way to learn. And that's actually what would happen if you go into a workplace. Like you'd speak to the client, you'd understand the problems that the problems they're facing, and you document it, and then you design a solution, and you go through that process. So I'm trying to implement that as much as possible. But the academy's like rebranding it and refreshing it, so there's it's going to be completely different in a couple of months. So when you start, you're going to be having way more new knowledge that no one else has ever come up with. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really cool.
Awesome. Sounds exciting.
Cool. Yeah, dude, this was awesome, right? You're smashing it. I literally have no questions to ask you because, dude, you're absolutely killing it, right? So I think for you, it's just doubling down, stay locked in, do the extras, which you're doing. You're going to go very, very far. Is there anything you want to share with anyone else, like the people watching? Any advice?
For anybody watching this right now, I would just say stay locked in and get a mentor. And my personal experience with having a mentor is going with Suleiman, and it paid off tenfold. So my message to you is invest in yourself and do that by investing in a mentor and stay locked in. You'll get what you want.
Let's go. That's awesome, bro. And yeah, listen, I appreciate you taking time out just after your birthday. But yeah, happy birthday, and I'll catch you very soon on IG or Circle.
Definitely appreciate it, man.
Let's
It's
go.
been great calling you. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you very much.